Hello, this is Spotlight in Souris, and my name is Laura Higgs. It is June 2024, and I have with me today Denis Philp, who is here to talk to us about the Railway Museum here in Souris, Manitoba. Welcome, Denis. Can you tell me a little bit about the museum? How did it get started?
It originally started with Keith Marley finding this particular rail car in Neepawa, and he saw fit for it to be made into a museum, and he purchased it and then sold it to Ferg Devons.
Okay, what year approximately was that?
About 2007, I think.
That transaction took place.
This originally got started 2008.
When the museum got opened here?
Oh, not open.
The idea?
I'm not sure what year.
So the whole concept of the museum started basically in 2008?
Yeah.
Okay.
We called a public meeting and had very good response.
Good.
And it was decided to go ahead with developing a museum, and it was something that Ferg was a real pusher right from the very start, and actually personally financed a lot of it.
Right. Ferg Devons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was a railwayman back in the day.
He was a telegraph operator.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the railway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Myself, I was a brakeman and worked my way up to conductor.
Oh, okay. And what year was that, Denis?
That's a good question.
You finished with the railroad in, was it the 80s?
I quit in 71.
There you go, 71. Okay.
But I initially started in 67, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
Centennial year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's quite a career with them, and
well,
so
I was
hard.
never happy with it as a career.
Oh, okay. It was hard work.
Well, it was different. I don't know what I was used to.
Yeah, maybe.
It was, I could not hold steady work because being a junior employee, I could not hold enough work to even make a living.
Mm.
My best year on the railroad was $5,000.
That
was
year?
for the whole year.
Wow.
And I had a wife who was not well and a little child at home, and I just decided I needed to be at home.
Okay.
And I quit.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I still knew a lot of the people that were involved. Some of them relatives and such like.
Yeah.
But,
well, as I recall from speaking with other railroaders, that it's a tough job because you're away from your family a lot, especially if you run shift after shift.
Yeah, you're on call 24 hours a day,
right.
365 days of the year.
Right.
Because I was a junior member, I didn't even warrant any holiday time.
Right. Yeah.
None at all.
But you're still on call.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And we did not have any retainer fee at that time.
Oh.
Now, the brakemen, conductors, and such like all are on the retainer fee, and it's a totally different situation.
Sure. The workman policies have come a long way.
Oh yeah.
To this day, for sure. But back then, as I recall, it was a tough job. Lots of work, lots of physical work, is my understanding too.
The physical work wasn't so much as just having to be there, and they very seldom called you to work in daylight hours. It was nearly always night work.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well,
I always said there were like a bunch of thieves They only worked at night.
Well, being a junior, I guess you would get what they call the tough shifts, eh? If you were still a junior back then?
Oh, well, I actually was only working when somebody else decided they didn't want to go to work.
Okay.
They'd book off and there'd be a gap and then I'd get called in to...
Yeah, yeah. So that, being with the railroad for those years, it gave you an interest in this when Ferg and Keith Martin came up with the idea?
I had, interest and knew a lot of people involved and,
And families who were still involved, because there were several families from around here who were with the railroad for many years and had a longer career than you had with them.
Claire Summersall was one. He quit and restarted 3 times.
Oh, is that right?
And normally you have to take training to start. Well, by the time he got to the 3rd time, they just told Claire to go to work.
Go to work. He was already trained, eh?
Yeah.
Already trained. Okay. So when this railway museum, I say this railway museum because that's where we're sitting, is in the museum itself, and the concept started up around 2007, 2008, but it took Ferg and friends several years to get it on board.
Yes,
right?
Definitely. Ferg did a lot of work from home because he had the computer and recording a lot of stuff. And
he didn't have all of this just in his garage, all of the displays you see.
Oh,
here.
no. Oh, no.
They were donated?
Most of what's in here was donated.
Yeah.
Now, where some of it came from, I can't imagine. But, like there's railroad watches. There's a pistol there that was used for the guard on the train when they actually did banking on the train.
Oh, right, yes.
And back in that corner over there is a safety deposit box. And if you think that's not a safety deposit box, you want to lift the lid on it.
Yeah, pretty bad, eh?
Ferg wouldn't even try to lift it.
Yeah, I bet.
He got me to lift the lid a few times.
Yeah, and that would be on the money car of the train.
Yeah, well, that's what this car was. It was, we were told when we acquired it first that it was a payroll car.
Right, that's what I heard.
Which it was not.
Oh, is that right?
Now, I'm not sure what the title of it was, but the guard and the people that looked after the books, payroll guy, they actually lived in this car. It was...
Oh.
They didn't have living quarters elsewhere. They lived in this car.
Like a bunkhouse?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we took some research before we found that out.
Okay. Well, I kind of wondered about this area just beside me with the windows that jut out, if this was...
Well, that was added after we got it to make it look more like a station.
Okay.
Because the railroad station always had the bay window so the station operator could look up and down the track.
Oh, okay.
And he could see out both ways. We had their key for Morse code.
Right.
And there's just a tapping key, and then there's what they call a bug, which is only used by those that are much more skilled, and it's much faster.
Ah, okay.
They go like this.
Now that's one of the features that we show people, especially the kids love it, the coding here.
Yeah. This is your bug here.
Right here?
You can't see it, but the counter.
That's okay. Right here. Oh, this is pretty heavy.
Yeah. That's your bug, and you work it back and forth on that blade there on the end.
Yeah. Ah, yeah, okay. So that's what people would get to see when they come in.
Yeah.
I think Ferg used to tell me there was a little trick they did. They'd have the kids write their name down on a
Oh,
piece
yeah.
of paper.
And then get them to listen and repeat it on the Morse code.
Yeah.
Now the Morse code was developed for the railroad or by the railroad, and it is also the basis of all your telephone, telegraph, even television,
Yes.
the teletype.
Yeah.
And that all came through the railroad.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put this. Coming to a blank.
That's all right. Not to worry. But yeah, it was very pivotal in a lot of.
Yeah, and the railroad was responsible for the 40-hour work week. The railroaders, the non-operators, actually went on strike, and the government forced them back to work with arbitration.
Okay.
And that's where the 40-hour week was established for everywhere. That typewriter there behind you, that was something that Ferg had, that is an old railroad typewriter, just a common,
Wow.
common typewriter.
So yes, Ferg did have a few things and some input.
Oh yeah, and that ring of car seals there, those were invented by a section man in Souris.
Really?
Yeah, and they're used all over the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're used on ships, on freight, on trucks,
Yeah.
and each strip, they're self-locking when you close them up. They were used to seal loads that you could tell if somebody had tampered with them.
Oh, okay, like a tamper seal, sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, really interesting. Well, we had some we've had some famous and very creative people from our town, for sure.
There's something else was invented by Souris railroaders, and I can't think of what it was. But that was one thing that was invented by just a common section man.
Yeah, yeah.
And
but famous to us now.
Well, it's special.
Sure.
To the museum, because where else?
Nobody else has it.
No, they're worldwide.
Yeah, that's right. So after the museum was an idea and a dream of Ferg and Keith, you were on board nearly from the beginning, you told me, right? Right?
Yeah.
So you attended after the public meeting, you guys had regular meetings.
Exactly.
To chat about how this was going to work, where it was going to be located. Did you know where it was going to be located?
Not right off the bat, but Ferg went to the town and asked for a place to put it, and this is the location that they donated to us. And it's just a very unique operation all over.
Well, we're on the main drag through town as people come from
from the north
from
or from the
250 or Highway 2. They come on 23 here, and they have to go right past this railway museum.
Now,
to go
up
south of town.
above, they have two of the inspection cars that the roadmaster used. Now, this one back here, called Titanic, 1912, I think it is.
Okay.
And then it was replaced by the other one over here, and I can't see the date, year on it. But I can remember that particular car, the second one, running up and down the tracks
Can you?
when I was a kid.
Wow.
And you notice it's got the cow catcher on the front for,
Yeah, I see that.
that's in case of livestock out on the track and they could scoop them off the track without
Saving their vehicle.
derailing.
That's right. Saving their vehicle for
Yeah.
sure. So there's so much for people to see when they come in here, and so many stories as well on the wall. I noticed they had stories of local families that were all in the
Oh,
railway
yeah.
as well.
There's a lot of families that have, you know, year after year and generation after generation. There was 3 Stevenson brothers. There was 4 Mark Stevenson and Smokey. They were of a different family, but the same connection.
Right?
And there was them and the Morris family. There was 4 brothers who worked on the railroad at one time or
Right.
another. Ray worked in the shops. Hugh was an engineer. Les was an engineer. You know, I can't remember the.
Yeah. Well, even the Edmonds family, that's newer.
Yeah, the Edmonds family, the 2 brothers.
Yeah.
Uh,
And one of their sons.
was that
And
right?
one of their sons, yeah.
Oh, that
Yeah.
could be.
Yeah.
Binions, there was 3 generations of Binions.
Right?
Gordon Logan there worked in the shops, and Russ Logan was, I know he was a brakeman, trainman. I'm not sure whether he ever got to conductor or not. But he transferred out to BC. They put a call out one year for Prairie railroaders to transfer out to BC for the mountains.
Oh, yeah.
And to the best of my recollection, Russ Logan and Hugh Morris were the only 2 that went. But it was an opportunity for anybody that wanted to go, could go out there and work in the mountains.
Yeah.
They said that the valley through Oxbow and down that way, Alameda, that the hills and the track there were every bit as bad as any of the mountain track.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I remember we had a green engineer one time, and he was told explicitly, do not kick the brakes off until you hit the bottom of the valley at Oxbow.
Wow.
He got to the top of the hill, kicked the brakes off. 100 cars of coal coming behind him.
Oh, that's a fair amount of weight.
Yes. And we went around, there's a double S curve in that valley, and we could hear the wheels, the flange on the railroad wheels, lifting and dropping, lifting and dropping.
Oh my gosh.
I was riding the engine as a head-end brakeman on that particular route.
Wow.
You didn't know whether to jump or hang on.
That's right. That's what I was thinking. What a decision to have to make. Oh boy. Obviously you made it, but that's be pretty scary.
Yeah, it was an engineer from Brandon who had never worked this track before, and
Wow.
but they said they'd given him explicit orders not to kick the brakes off until they hit the bottom.
Yeah, and there was sure a reason.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Well, it going around the double S curves, it threw the dishes out of the cupboards
I'm sure.
and smashed the dishes all over the place.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Is there any other exciting things that happened on your time with the railway?
We had a couple of incidents, and I can't recall just what the other one was. But my uncle, Tom Stewart, he was on the snowplow down near, was it Clearwater? And they hit a hard bank of snow and ice, and the engine left the track and came to stop right out in the field.
Oh my God.
And still stayed up, right side
Upright.
up.
Oh my goodness.
They had to bring a crane out from Winnipeg to lift it back onto the track.
Wow.
There's been some incidents.
For sure.
And just north of town here, there was the one engine exploded. Now that was, you possibly knew Chid Lovelace here in town.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I met
Well,
him.
his uncle was the conductor on that, I believe. And then there was another fellow, I can't recall his name right offhand, was the engineer, and they both survived it.
Wow.
But it was remarkable.
Yes, no kidding.
And even more recently, since I've been farming myself, they were still finding parts from that wreck out in the field.
Really?
Yeah.
How far north did you say?
About 4 miles north of town.
Really?
It was on what John Page farmed. Bill
yes.
Thompson, John
Yeah,
Page.
I know where that is, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. Well, so Denny, can you tell me about the jigger out front here?
The jigger, we got word at one of our regular meetings at 9 o'clock at night from Tim Yonts, who is a railroader who lives in Calgary.
Right.
A Souris native. And he said there's 2 jiggers available here in Calgary, but they have to be moved by 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And had he heard about the concept of the Railway Museum already?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he was involved right from the beginning.
Oh, good.
But the jiggers were in poor shape. They'd just been parked in the back of a yard, and it had come to be an estate situation.
Okay.
Nobody had looked after them. They were half buried in dirt.
Wow.
And so Betty and I were already packed to go to Calgary to visit my son the next day. But we decided, well, we just have to leave a little early.
Okay.
We got out there, well, first of all, I phoned my son, and he contacted Rick Smith, whose wife was from Souris, Mary McCullough, and they started on it, and Tim came and joined us, and I got there about 3 o'clock in the afternoon by the time we got there, and we loaded them on the trailer and took them out to my son's. Windows were missing and just total wrecks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they were discarded. They were scrap metal.
So we picked a better one of the 2 and brought it home and started to work on it, and it sat in front of my garage for several months till Betty was completely disgusted with it being there. But anyway, I reupholstered it. I replaced all the windows that were missing, and just generally refurbished it. Lights, all that sort of stuff we had to redo, but it is complete in that it even has the handles on it for when the section men had to turn it or take it off the tracks
Right.
when a train was coming. They're still original.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. And
So you got some work done while it was in front of your house, but then it got moved here and put on a set of
Right.
tracks.
now before we moved it here, we had a CN jigger. And Souris being a CP town,
Right?
we were getting questions all the time, why a CN jigger when the Souris has been a CP town?
Yeah.
So we pulled the CN jigger off the track here and donated it to the Rivers Museum
Okay.
and put this one on in place of it.
And then they were both in the appropriate place.
Yes, yeah, I've never even been up to see the one at Rivers since it was repositioned, but the fellows from Rivers came down here and they actually moved this one from my yard down here and took the orange one,
Mm-hmm.
which was the CN color, and took it home with them.
Wow.
It was quite a thing, really.
Mm-hmm. Because somebody had to bring in this car and put it here, and then you had to bring in the jigger and put it there.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work.
Al Paulworth actually made the final move in bringing the jigger here. He had the transport company.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure on how the car got from Menados and Neepawa. I'm not sure exactly where it was to here. I don't know, but Al Paulworth was the one that put it on.
Facilitated the move.
Put it here.
Yeah. Yeah, and then also I think somebody helped you with the jigger to do some enhancements to it and repair. Is that right? You did all of it?
Pretty much.
Oh, wow.
John Jones helped
some,
but 90% of it I did myself.
Wow. Well, the kids love it out there. I know when I've worked the museum, we'll come down and take the padlocks off there, and everybody visits it, but the kids really love it. They climb in and sit in there.
Yeah. But on one occasion, somebody came in here and knocked every window out of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Knocked it out or crashed it out?
Well, they knocked them out, and there was only one that we couldn't reuse. But they threw them down the creek bank out back here. But me being a scrounger, I found them, and I reinstalled them.
Wow.
And that was a whole day's work, just putting that glass back in.
Wow. Well, good for you and your volunteer heart to keep all that going, I'll tell you.
Well, it needs to be done, so somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. Well, with you being in the railway, like that's what it is with you folks that were on the original idea and the original board. There wasn't a board formed back then, but the original panel of people that helped put it together. You all had your heart in it because you had some time spent
we had
in the
some
railway.
connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or family connection as well, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, a lot of them, it was family connection. By no means did all the people that got involved have a direct connection. Those three ladies there, I actually knew all three of them.
Mm-hmm.
Betty Pomeroy, Betty Clevitt now.
Mm-hmm.
I actually went to school with her.
Did you?
Yeah. We traveled together coming to school.
Yeah.
And her brother joined up as a brakeman. I don't think he ever progressed beyond brakeman, but Cliff and myself and Grant Moffat all quit the same day.
Oh, is that right?
We had a problem with the roadmaster.
Okay.
And we just said enough's enough, and
Right.
because they had a notion that they had to have a train out of Souris by 11 o'clock in the morning. They could not get section men or brakemen out of Souris or Brandon to take that train out. It was the next day before they actually could put a crew together.
Boy.
It was 90% the roadmaster was just being a real pain in the, you know what?
Yeah. Yeah. You can get that in just about any job, can't you?
Oh, he was an exception.
Ah.
And the sad part of it was, he was raised by a family just north of town here
Really?
as a foster child.
Really?
He should have known what farming was all about.
Should have, yes. Yes, but it's very interesting coming from this neck of the woods and not realizing
Well,
how important the
I
people
don't know,
are.
you probably knew Ron Barkley.
Yep, sure did.
Well, this guy was raised with Ron's dad.
Wow.
He was-
Interesting.
He was a foster child, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So tell me about the simulator. I know we're in the building that houses the museum, but just across our foyer here, our open air foyer, is another building, and it has the railway simulator in there.
Well, a simulator is the training device for training engineers. Now, I think that's the third one we've had.
Okay.
We had one that was a real difficult one to operate, and the computer disks were like that.
Wow.
And it was too hard to maintain. We got a newer setup donated, still by the New York Air Brake Company out of Texas, and I think, no, I'm not absolutely sure, but I think that they actually supplied the third simulator when they took them out of service in Calgary for training engineers all the way across the prairies. And it was quite a thing to have, because this is the only privately owned one on the CPR in North America. Now I understand that the CN has one somewhere.
Oh.
Do you know anything about that? No. But anyway, we have maintained it. Every once in a while we have to get Tim Yance from Calgary to come and help us out.
Now he was the one who helped.
He was the one
To find
that
this.
initiated our getting a simulator.
Right.
And he is pretty high up in the echelons.
Okay.
I'm
Well, it
not
seemed
sure of his exact job, but
Well, this is the second time you've mentioned him, so he's has a connection, obviously, to
Oh, yeah.
to Souris, but a connection with the inspiration and the idea of the
Yeah.
railway museum.
that small picture up there, I think is his dad. There's
that
this
right?
one here with just this engine, and then a personal picture. I think that's his dad,
Okay.
Gordon Young.
Gordon Yance. Okay.
I could be wrong.
Very interesting. So he helped, but this latest simulator came from out of town, did it not?
Well, yeah, it came direct from Calgary.
Yeah.
But it was donated by New York Air Brake Company out
Okay.
of Texas.
Oh, okay. There you go.
And they are responsible for our, the tower out there, whatever that is, for connections between here and Texas if we need to,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And they paid for, we had to put the tower up, but they paid for all the rest of the, mechanics, so
Sure, sure. Well, that's good. It's good. It's nice to have people on your side to help
Well,
out, when, especially when you get something like that going.
people like Tim Yance that had connections.
Sure.
I think he was somewhere in the office up there.
Right. You could line us up
and
with the people we
when
need.
they took them out of service, they wanted to know what to do with them. He said, well, Souris is starting this museum, and that's where it came from. And
Yeah.
Ferg, he had the building put up to house it. Now the original simulator took that whole building pretty well.
Oh, is that right?
And now it would fit in like from here to that end.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Just,
And it's a specially equipped room. I know that makes sure the air conditioner is at the right
Oh, yeah.
temperature and everything in order
Oh,
to
yeah.
keep all the electronics safe.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. And the museum was started by Ferg and Keith, but they didn't receive any grants or any funding or anything
No.
like that. This has all been volunteer
It's been
and
all
donations.
volunteered donations, and we have never. We applied for grants, but we never got one. And we were supposed to get grants for high school students to help man it in the summer. There's never been one show up.
Yeah. Yes, you're right. That didn't go over well this past year, did it?
Apparently, they all wanted to be paid.
Well, I think there are some logistic problems in there, but maybe we'll try to get that up and running ourselves next year, maybe. Can you tell me some of the volunteers that started out?
Some of the volunteers.
Especially in the beginning. Now you have volunteers that help with, there's all kinds of things. There was people who set up some of the displays, some who do cleanup and painting, some who'd sit at the museum when it's open.
Mark Stocks was the one responsible for all these pictures being hung.
Okay. I knew Mark as well, yeah.
Yeah, he is since deceased. He moved to BC before that.
Right.
And we didn't have near the number of former railroaders that we were hoping for. You know, it was more community-minded people.
Sure.
And I do have a list, or had a list, and Betty told me, is it in the?
Yes, it's actually right in my hand. We have a list of volunteers. Now,
Okay.
in the beginning, the original list is, some volunteers were, you said Mark Stocks, Danny Belbus. He sold raffle tickets. That Danny Belbus, I believe we have a bench going up with his name on it
That's
too.
supposed to
He
be,
stopped
it
here.
never showed up yet.
Well, we're working on it. We're putting together a letter as secretary of the Railway Museum group. I'm going to put together a letter on behalf of our group to ask where that is in the process, because we know the town's working on it.
Danny was handicapped.
Yeah, but he stopped by every day that it was open
He
to
was
talk
here
to the.
every day. The museum was open pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And he'd go down to the swinging bridge with pamphlets
Yeah.
and hand them out
Yeah, he
to
did.
tourists.
So we want to honor him by having that bench, and we just don't know where we are in the process. So we'll make sure we find out, and we'll get that happening this year for sure, because we want to honor that and the volunteer work he did for us. Some of the other volunteers were Ferg Devens, Keith Marley, was it Roy Stevenson?
Yes.
Yeah, and Betty Clevitt was involved in the beginning as well.
Yeah, that's her on the
That's right.
end there with Betty. Pomeroy maybe back then.
Yeah.
She has been secretary right up until you took over,
That's correct. Yeah,
and done a lot of cataloging in that.
she did. Her books are immaculate, and
And
her paperwork was well done.
Margie, what's Margie's name from Elgin?
I want to say Robbins, but that's
Robbins,
not right.
that's
Is that
right.
right? Okay.
Yeah, she undertook overseeing the acquisition of stuff, and then Betty Summersall and Janice Fraser, they were quite involved in setting stuff up and
Yeah.
cataloging and,
Yeah, and they also, well, I know Janice Fraser, Orla Maitland, they still come and open the museum on
Right.
certain days of the week.
yeah.
Betty Summersall was in there, yourself, and John Jones, of course.
Oh, John Jones was the only one that has no railroad background.
Yeah,
He's just strictly a volunteer.
yeah.
I talked him into it.
You did. Good. Well, it's always good to have friends, right?
Yeah.
And he is very capable, and he has some knowledge. I know he's
Oh.
done some work for me in the past. He has certainly
Oh,
knowledge.
he can do just about anything.
Yeah, pretty much. And of course, with the simulator, we had, of course, Mark Cranwell is definitely our technical man on the Railway Museum and with the simulator. And he does the teaching other people how to work it. But we have Gil Neufeld, Bob Belbar that used to
Yeah.
help with the simulator.
Yeah.
Mark is our key man, though. He's also done some training for myself and for Dean Sherritt as well on the simulator. But he usually does most of the bookings. We have a lot of kids who like to come in and run that simulator.
John Jones, I think, could take over that simulator if required.
Great, that'd be great. Yeah.
Now, he doesn't want us up and say so,
Well,
but he's one that is
capable.
Yeah.
Yes, I see what you mean. Capable.
Yeah.
And then, of course, after Ferg passed away, we formed a committee, and Dean Sherritt is our facilitator. And yes, I'm now the secretary for the Railway Museum.
Emily Logan, who is Ferg's granddaughter.
That's right.
I thought she was going to be here with us today, but probably had to work.
Yeah, probably.
She works shift work at the personal care home, but she's a distant relative of mine too.
Is she? Yeah. Well, I know she's Ferg's granddaughter, and she also is wanting to volunteer this year to help us with a little bit of deck work outside.
Oh yeah, she helped with painting
Yeah.
and she did, I think, quite a bit of work behind the scenes with Ferg.
Sure.
She seems quite knowledgeable
Yeah,
about
for sure.
what's
For sure.
what.
So this whole railway museum has evolved from a couple of railwaymen having an idea
Right.
into actually having the building and collecting the displays and getting volunteers.
Yeah.
Actually, Ferg actually recruited me for for WCG for what I'm doing here. He recruited me into this position. And because I really liked working with him, when I knew that the railway was in need, I came here to volunteer because of my respect for his volunteerism.
He has done a fantastic job of organizing it. The only problem is he did too much of it himself without a committee to replace him when he passed on.
Yes, it was a big job. We have a handful of people that meet on a fairly regular basis, and we've sort of assigned all these taskings to people, and we have a tough time keeping up ourselves. I don't know how he did it, but he did a great job.
Yeah, but he did so much of it all by himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But these pictures here, I think Mark Stocks framed and mounted most of them.
Yeah.
Collected them.
Yeah. It's a great little place to visit, and we don't. We go by donations, but I think this year we're changing to $2 a person. I think
$2 cover charge.
Yeah, yeah, or maybe there's a rate for family we talked about as well.
I don't know where that really went in the end. I was at the meeting.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
my
It's hard-
hearing's not as good as it could be.
Right, hard to keep up, but it's not. Some people come in here and can spend a whole long time reading all the articles and looking at all the pictures and all the displays we have. And then other people will come in for just a short time, and we have air conditioning in here, so it's not like it's uncomfortable, so people could certainly come in
Now,
and heat.
this 1912 map of the railroad yards and Souris is quite a...
Interesting map, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I've had people come in here when I was on duty, and, well, my grandparents lived here. Well, I can go to the town map there, There's where your grandparents lived.
Yeah, nice, very nice.
And
Yeah. See, that's an advantage you have being with the railway and being in Souris all these years. I've only been here a little over 25 years, and I didn't have anything to do with the railway. So if I come down to volunteer here, I don't have as much information as you folks do. So we really appreciate your time.
John Jones is in a similar situation.
For sure.
But he has learned a lot working with me, not necessarily from me, but being involved.
Yeah.
And
I got quite a bit of knowledge when I volunteered with Janice Fraser. That really helped out too.
Yeah,
she had some great knowledge.
Janice's husband and father-in-law, I guess it was, were railroad men.
Yeah.
And
so lots of first-hand information there.
Orla, her husband was a railroad man, and who else?
Lots and lots of families involved. And you can pretty much find their names, most of their names up on our walls here.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Now, in 1950, there were 255 railroad employees in Souris.
Really? Well, we have that big railroad station up here that's been taken down now. It's open land at the moment, but it was a beautiful old building.
Yeah. Well, the reason that we had such a large station, Souris was a divisional point. And when they took that away from Souris, Brandon became the divisional point.
Right.
But we had the engineers and everybody, all 3 floors of railroad staff in that station.
Wow.
And Teeny Brown was, I believe, the last one to run the restaurant in there.
Oh.
Yeah, there was a restaurant in the station.
I didn't know there was a restaurant in there.
Oh, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. Her husband, Earl Brown, was well, I think at the last he was just a watchman on the engines sitting out front.
Wow.
But I think he refueled and that sort of thing. But I don't know whether there's a picture of Teeny up there or not. But I personally remember her.
Yeah.
The incident about her, remember the old brown orange crush bottles?
Brown?
Yeah, the bottles
Orange
were brown.
Okay, yes, yeah.
She got one time, drinking out of it. See, it's funny. There was a dead lizard in the bottle.
For real.
For her.
And she opened it herself, so she knows.
Yeah. I guess she was terrible sick.
Oh, I bet. I bet. Oh my gosh. Wow. It's crazy what'll happen to people, eh?
Yeah. These are things that most people don't know about.
Yes. Sure, there's lots and lots of stories, but
Teeny and her husband lived next door to Mom's sister and her husband, and Mom's brother-in-law was an engineer.
Wow, and now we don't have, we certainly don't have that many employees that are with the railway anymore. We do have, we used to have conductors in town. I know until the Edmonds retired, and then
Terry Binions.
And then Todd
Larson.
I think they're all retired now, so I don't know how many.
Is Todd retired?
I understood he was. Do you think?
He started after I quit.
Oh, well, maybe
and so did the Edmonds.
Well, maybe.
I think Claire had started.
Well, I know Claire's retired, but I thought Todd had retired too. But it's interesting, isn't it?
Well, could be.
Huh.
But Claire was just in his first year when I quit.
Wow. And he did lots and lots of shifts. He did lots of back-to-back shifts, I'll tell you. They all did. All those guys worked quite hard. You want to pick up your shifts and get your paycheck in.
Try
so
and get your miles in.
So yeah. And so you can spend some time at home with your family. Yeah, for sure.
I never got enough miles to do that.
No? Well, you were not there that long. Not a full,
6 years.
yeah, not a full 20, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, any other stories you want to share with us, Denny?
No.
Okay, well, that's good. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for coming in and helping us to promote the Railway Museum, as well as share some of the history behind it, behind its inception and the idea and the people involved, and how this became the Railway Museum.
Something we didn't touch on was the telephone. The railroad had their own telephone system.
Oh, they did?
Oh, there's
Wow.
right there.
So they could definitely talk to each other without the
Yeah.
interference of another company.
You know, they could call up the local section men, or all down the line,
Mm-hmm.
and that was because not all the section men knew the Morse code.
Oh, okay.
They had to verbally.
Pass on the
Contact.
orders, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
The oldest member of the section out at Beresford, where my home district is, was Dan McCuca. He was a little short, fat fellow. On one occasion, he fell on the side of the track and he rolled right to the bottom of the. And then a man by the name of Burks was the next section foreman, and I'm not sure whether Art Mickey was the last one or not before they did away with the local section. In Souris here, John Belbus was one of the section foreman.
John Belvis, as in
Danny's father.
a father, okay.
Yeah. And I can't elaborate too much on that. It's just he was there.
Okay. All right. Well, I wanna say thank you so much for coming in. Really do appreciate your time.
Yeah. I put quite a bit of time in trying
Yeah.
to do that, and then Betty took and rewrote what I had to.
Perfect. Your notes were very, very
My
good.
writing's not very
Appreciate
good.
it. No, that's quite all right. Thank you to you and your wife for your efforts you put in here, not only with volunteering here, but also with coming down to see us at Spotlight on Souris.
Well,
Okay.
I'd like to promote it more, but I don't know just what
You're doing well. Appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us here at Spotlight on Souris.